Welcome to the Mizzou Hockey pregame show here at Washington Park Ice Arena. I'm Owen Backer, joined alongside me, Michael Totis. Michael, you excited for today's game?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's really hard not to get excited when Mizzou's back on home ice. They played a pretty good Friday night game against Purdue. Saturday didn't really go in their favor, and it's kind of a rare occurrence for them not to get a win here on home ice. You kind of mentioned it in your interview with Danny Rudman earlier this week. First home loss for Mizzou since 2022. I mean, it's just kind of hard to wrap your head around. They've won that many games here in a row, and they're going to look to start a new streak here this afternoon against Oklahoma State.
Yes, Oklahoma State Cowboys, a team coming off two brutal losses to the Texas A&M Aggies. They are trying to get their first win of the season. Missouri, as you mentioned, trying to get back in the win column on home ice. So kind of just bringing it back a little bit to that Purdue series. They come out flying in the first game. They win 8-2. And then they falter, as Danny Rudman put it in our interview. They seem to get a little complacent in that second game. They let things get away from them, too many mistakes, and they ended up falling 4-3 in overtime. What would you say is the biggest thing the Tigers need to clean up from that previous series against Purdue, and what do you think is the biggest thing they need to bring with them into this series?
Well, I think one thing that they can clean up is probably the penalties. They've had a lot of penalty issues lately in these first two series, cleaning up penalties, staying at even strength. I mean, when you're down a man, it's really hard to really play really good hockey. So if they're able to clean that up, keep more men on the ice, they'll end up playing a lot better hockey, in my opinion. One thing they're going to bring with them, I think, is their speed. Against Oklahoma State, there's a team that prides herself on speed, not physicality, something that Purdue really did. That's something we saw in that Purdue series. They're a physical team. Not really Mizzou style, but I think their speed is going to be a big difference against the Cowboys tonight.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all the things you said. For me, I think not stealing you, because obviously the penalties are a problem, but I would say the biggest thing the Tigers need to kind of stay away from is the breakaways. They were able to clamp down on that in the first game against Purdue pretty well, but that second game, they allowed a bunch of 2-on-1s, 2-on-0s. They had a couple of those where Patrick Stiplekolski had to bail his team out, and you just can't let up too many of those opportunities. That's how you face an opponent that you should be able to outpace and outplay, and how you can let up one or two goals to bring them back into the game. So that's something I think they really need to stay away from. So a positive that I think they should bring is the passing. The passing looked rough against SIUE the first series, and I didn't think I saw Mizzou connect 3 passes in a row that entire first 2 games. And game 1 against Purdue, they were in sync. The tape-to-tape passes throughout the zone were impeccable, and I think that extra week of practice really benefited them. And so if they can bring that into this week, they should have a pretty good time against Oklahoma State. Kind of circling in on individual players. Since you went first the other segment, I'll go first here. The player that I'm going to try to watch for Missouri is Andrew Cassioppo, the defenseman, number 28. He was very much improved from last season in the first 2 games of the season against SIUE. But in games 3 and 4 of the season against Purdue, he seemed to be less of a factor. Wasn't really making mistakes, wasn't doing anything poorly. He just wasn't as noticeable. So I'm looking for him to take a big step up. He's on that first pairing with Drew Driscoll, and I think he will be a player to watch.
Yeah, I really like the Cassioppo pick, obviously pairing with Driscoll, the point leader right now for the Mizzou Tigers. I'm going to go with Charlie Walker. I really felt like he had a nose for the stick in the Purdue series. Maybe didn't produce as much as I thought he would with them, even though he has 4 points for the Tigers. There's a little bit of a logjam with the Tigers, 4 players having 4 points. Obviously, I just mentioned Driscoll has 5. He is the point leader. But I'm expecting Walker to get off to a quick start in this series. I expect him to produce for the Tigers, goals, assists, whatever it may be. If the puck finds his stick, I just assume he's going to produce, and I think Oklahoma State is a great matchup for Walker to get back in the point column.
Last thing here I'll say, what's your score prediction for this game, and is there any other thing that we didn't touch on that you kind of want to mention that you think would be a notable thing for Missouri? I'll go first on score prediction. The Tigers' offense really has exploded in the last week. I'm going to say they're not going to put up 8 again, but they'll do good. I think they're going to win this contest 6-2 over the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I think that Andrew Knapp is going to get on the board a couple of times. I think Ethan DeGroat's going to get on the board a couple of times, and Andrew Cassioppo is going to pick up 3 assists. He's going to have 3 assists in this game.
I'm going to touch on one thing about Oklahoma State. They lost a lot of production from the last season. The only returning 2 players that had double-digit points last year, Coulter Clevenger and Thomas Lambo. And Clevenger's the only one returning that had double-digit goals. So there's a lot of big shoes to fill on this Oklahoma State team. I think it's a reason why they struggled in that A&M series, outscored 14-3 in 2 games against the Aggies. Mizzou, a lot better team on talent, I think. They don't lose here very often. I don't see them losing to the Cowboys, especially how cold the Cowboys have looked. I think it's another dominating win. I don't think the Cowboys escape that dominating loss fashion. I'm going to go with Mizzou. If Aggie scores average 7, I'm going to say Mizzou scores 8. I think they win this one 8-1 here and get back in the win column at Washington Park Ice Arena.
Big prediction right there. I can't say I disagree with the logic on that one, so we shall see. Remember, tonight's game versus Oklahoma State will begin at 7:30 here at Washington Park Ice Arena. Make sure to tune in the live stream here on this very YouTube channel. I'm Owen Backer, joined alongside me, Michael Totis. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you during game time.